In the first part of this film, we looked at learned helplessness, a psychological effect that can interrupt learning by reinforcing a child's fear of failure. But what if you hadn't even failed in the past? Another classroom experiment began when Martin Luther King was shot.
On the day after Martin Luther King was killed, one of my students came into the room and said, "They shot a king last night, Mrs. Elliott. Why'd they shoot that king?" I knew the night before that it was time to deal with this in a concrete way, not just talk about it. I decided at that point that it was time to try the eye color thing, which I had thought about many, many times, but had never used. So the next day, I introduced an eye color exercise in my classroom and split the class according to eye color, and immediately created a microcosm of society in a third-grade classroom. And is there anyone in this United States that we do not treat as our brothers?
Yes.
Who?
Yeah.
The black people. Who else?
Indians?
Absolutely, the Indians. And when many people see a black person or a yellow person or a red person, what do they think?
Look at that. Dumb people.
You think you know how that would feel to be judged by the color of your skin?
Yeah.
Do you think you do? No, I don't think you'd know how that felt unless you had been through it, would you? It might be interesting to judge people today by the color of their eyes. Would you like to try this?
Yeah!
Sounds like fun, doesn't it? Since I'm the teacher and I have blue eyes, I think maybe the blue-eyed people should be on top the first day.
And up here?
I mean, the blue-eyed people are the better people in this room. Oh, yes, they are. Blue-eyed people are smarter.
My dad isn't that stupid.
Is your dad brown-eyed?
Yeah.
One day you came to school and you told us that he kicked you.
He did.
Do you think a blue-eyed father would kick his son?
Yeah. My dad would.
This is a fact. Blue-eyed people are better than brown-eyed people. The brown-eyed people do not get to use the drinking fountain. You'll have to use the paper cups. You brown-eyed people are not to play with the blue-eyed people on the playground. Well, the brown-eyed people in this room today are going to wear collars so that we can tell from a distance what color your eyes are.
Even though this lesson was conducted in 1968, the children obviously understood that black people and other minorities were treated unfairly by society, but they still ended up saying and doing incredible things.
The yardstick's gone. Well, okay. I don't see the yardstick, do you?
It's coming over there. Hey, Miss Knight, you better keep that on your desk so if the brown-eyed people get out of hand.
Oh, you think if the brown-eyed people get out of hand, that would be the thing to use? Who goes first to lunch?
Blue-eyed.
The blue-eyed people. No brown-eyed people go back for seconds. Blue-eyed people may go back for seconds. Brown-eyed people do not.
Brown-eyed.
Don't you know?
They're not smart.
While the children's performance suffered, the effect on their social lives was truly heartbreaking, and is one of the reasons that this exercise would be immediately rejected by today's ethics boards.
And it seemed like when we were down on the bottom, everything bad was happening to us.
The way they treated you, you felt like you didn't even want to try to do anything.
It seemed like Mrs. Elliott was taking our best friends away from us.
What happened at recess? Were two of you boys fighting?
Yeah, Russell and John were.
What happened, John?
Russell called me names and I hit him in the gut.
What did he call you?
Brown eyes.
Did you call him brown eyes? What's wrong with being called brown eyes?
Oh, that's just the same way as other people call black people niggers. Yeah.
Is that the reason you hit him, John? Did it help? Did it stop him? Did it make you feel better inside?
Stop Russell.
Make you feel better inside?
In an attempt to make all the students appreciate prejudice, Jane Elliott then begins the second part of the exercise.
Yesterday, I told you that brown-eyed people aren't as good as blue-eyed people. That wasn't true. I lied to you yesterday. The truth is that brown-eyed people are better than blue-eyed people. Yesterday we were visiting and Greg said, "Boy, I like to hit my little sister as hard as I can. That's fun." What does that tell you about blue-eyed people?
They're naughty. In fact, they fight a lot.
The brown-eyed people may take off their collars, and each of you may put your collar on a blue-eyed person. The brown-eyed people get 5 extra minutes of recess. You blue-eyed people are not allowed to be on the playground equipment at any time. You blue-eyed people are not to play with the brown-eyed people. Brown-eyed people are better than blue-eyed people. They're smarter than blue-eyed people. And if you don't believe it, look at Brian. Okay, you want to be timed this morning?
The effects on the two groups' performance were dramatic.
I use Orton Gillingham Phonics. We use the card pack. And the children, the brown-eyed children, were in the low class the first day, and it took them 5.5 minutes to get through the card pack. The second day, it took them 2.5 minutes. The only thing that had changed was the fact that now they were superior people.
I thought we were going to get in the
You went faster than I've ever had anyone go through the card pack. Why couldn't you get them yesterday?
We had those collars on.
You think the collars kept you?
We just keep thinking about those collars.
Oh.
I kept getting rolling around.
Oh, and you couldn't think as well with the collars on. 4 minutes and 18 seconds.
I knew we weren't going to make it.
How long did it take you yesterday?
3 minutes.
3 minutes. How long did it take you today?
4 minutes and 18 seconds.
What happened?
One down.
Why? What were you thinking of?
This.
I gave little spelling tests, math tests, reading tests 2 weeks before the exercise, each day of the exercise and 2 weeks later. And almost without exception, the students' scores go up on the day they're on the top, down on the day they're on the bottom, and then maintain a higher level for the rest of the year after they've been through the exercise. We sent some of those tests to Stanford University, to the psychology department, and they did a sort of an informal review of them, and they said that what's happening here is kids' academic ability is being changed in a 24-hour period, and that isn't possible, but it's happening. Something very strange is happening to these children because suddenly they're finding out how really great they are.
Our amazing ability for prejudice doesn't disappear at adolescence. It's commonly understood that Asian children are better at mathematics, but is it really true?
Nearly 500,000 15-year-olds from all over the world took the test. The top 5 scores in math: Shanghai, China, Singapore, Hong Kong, South Korea, and Taiwan. And way down the list in 30th, the U.S.
Yes, it's indisputable. The average East Asian child will outperform the average Western child in maths. But why? There are plenty of theories. Everything from teaching techniques to language to farming techniques, even including IQ differences between ethnic groups. Very controversial. But we'll be looking at each one of these realistically and seeing how much of an influence these different factors have had.
In recent generations, these IQ gaps between the different ethnic groups have begun to close, which can only mean that the differences can't be as genetic as was previously believed. Something else to consider is the ritual of morning exercises, which educational psychologist Dylan Williams prescribed when he improved math scores in Britain. But these ideas still can't account for the whole difference. How about what Malcolm Gladwell proposes in his bestseller, Outliers? Gladwell points to how intensive rice farming is and suggests it acts as a kind of cultural education in diligence, expertise, and hard work. These qualities are certainly important in studying maths, but are they more important than in reading or other subjects? The suggestion doesn't seem to have any testable component to it. Gladwell also says there's an inbuilt advantage to the Chinese language because the words for numbers are more logical. So how about children of other languages whose number system is just as logical? While there is some plausibility to the counting system theory, there seem to be too many inconsistencies. Finland and Belgium often rank even above the East Asian countries, while very simple counting systems belonging to Peruvian, Nigerian and Welsh languages don't seem to have any impact on these countries' arithmetic ability. One theory which Gladwell mentions does seem promising. It is the cultural emphasis placed on maths and science. Confucian philosophy, adopted several hundred years after Confucius's death, clearly venerates self-cultivation. This takes the form of education specifically in science and maths. So Eastern societies demand higher standards of mathematical ability. This looks like it could be one of the main reasons for the difference. And look how it shapes Chinese learning. In 1993, a group of researchers studied classrooms in Japan, Taiwan, and the US. The main difference was that things like subtraction would be taught by laying out 50 pebbles, removing 20, and then asking the class how we know that this is a subtraction problem. And actually drawing out on blackboards an addition problem where a group of 10 friends are then joined by 2 others. Of course, we still use these kinds of problems in Western schools, but this type of question was asked in 37% of lessons in Japan, 20% in Taiwan, but only 2% of United States classrooms.
So Asian children aren't naturally better at maths, but thanks to their teaching and their hard work, they have a brilliant start. And as we've seen, whether you think a child's brilliant or terrible, they tend to live up to that expectation. And it's just naturally understood that Asian children are better at maths. Could that stereotype ever intimidate Western children sitting in the same classroom? Maybe that's stretching it, you'll think. But let's look at a related example of what psychologists refer to as stereotype threat.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Jackson. Welcome to Your Voice. When girls and boys start school, they have very similar abilities in math. That's proven by the most recent scores from EQAO, the Education Quality and Accountability Office in Ontario. Somewhere along the line, though, despite their abilities to achieve, girls get turned off math and don't go on to study math at university or to the high-paying careers that follow.
We have the perception that girls aren't supposed to like math. And what that means is that if you're a girl who likes math, it gets you into a little bit of trouble about reconciling what it is to be a girl to what it is to like math.
One particular individual study that I like was done by Catherine Good. She did it with a university class who are on a sort of hard and fast calculus course, so it's quite a demanding one. And she gave the students, male and female, a very difficult test of maths. Some of them she put under stereotype threat. So I believe in this study that just meant we're looking to see what makes people good and bad at maths, which in itself is threatening for women because, of course, they understand that women are, perceived as being worse at maths. But to other people, the threat was dispersed by saying, on this particular test, no gender differences have been observed. So the stereotype no longer applies for this particular test, so it relieves the anxiety.
And what was the result?
Well, the result was that the women who had the stereotype threat removed outperformed the women who were performing under stereotype threat, but they also outperformed the men in both conditions. And when you bear in mind that these students were all matched in terms of the university course grades, getting rid of this sort of ambient stereotype threat actually unleashed this woman's mathematical potential, so they're actually sort of performing better than you would expect from their course grades and so on.
Something very strange is happening to these children because suddenly they're finding out how really great they are.
Out of all of the subjects we take at school, we think that the way we feel about maths shouldn't make a difference to how we do. The truth is, it probably makes more of a difference than in other subjects. If you're a teacher, a pupil, or even someone who just never liked the subject, I hope this video helps to explain your experience of maths.
Danica McKellar went from a brilliant career in acting as a child star to an equally brilliant career as a mathematician. You actually created a theorem while you were at UCLA. It's called the Chayes-Mikella-Wynn theorem, and that's not the full title.
The full title is Percolation and Gibbs-Stage Multiplicity for Ferromagnetic Ashken-Teller Models on Z2.
And I still don't know what a quadratic equation is.